Hey, welcome back to Nana's Baba. I'm Da Baba, the Big Daddy, and now we're going to talk about Phase 2, Reconnaissance, or Recon. Yeah, it's military jargon, but basically all it means is being able to identify on a map where the location you're going to and what you're going to be doing in that location, and then looking at that map and doing some research to find out, does it have your logistical needs? Where is it located? How far away is it? What type of environment is it? Is it healthy, unhealthy, safe, unsafe, criminal reports, that type of stuff. This is really kind of easy to do. It's kind of hard in a way, but easy to do. That's where the featured guys come in real handy. I was lucky. Sir Pinze and Lao Wai both had gone into the area that I was going to be going to and spent some time there. Pretty significant amount of time, so I could at least see that. But then being able to find out physically where we are. When you think of China, you think of automatically Beijing. And you start to think, okay, it's a communist nation. It probably only has one point of infill, exfil, way you come in, way you go out. But then when you start doing research, there's a lot of points you can land. You can go through Hong Kong, you can go out of GZ, you can go out of Shanghai, you can go out of Beijing for international flights. So it also geographically just sort of depends by doing your planning, knowing where your orphanage is at. You know which point of infiltration you might want to choose or entry that you want to choose to go to first. Or if you just want to see some sights. Beijing is the one I sort of hung on to. It's got two sites I want to see, plus I figured it's just easiest. Looking at the town, I really didn't put much logistical research into the reconnaissance of it. I've identified the Forbidden City, Tiananmen Square, and the Great Wall, the section of the Great Wall I want to go to, which has a toboggan ride on it. Not many people will be able to say that they toboggan down the Great Wall of China. I will have that t-shirt. So, looking at that, it's a first-tier city, Olympic city, so it would probably be the best one for me to go into. The first time I ever went to Europe, I went with a very wise traveler. She made sure we flew in England. I spent a couple days in England just getting used to a change in accent. Slight changes in food, slight changes in custom. Before I flew over to France and experienced for the first time in my life speaking the international language of fingers and not even understanding how to say where to go to the bathroom. So how does this apply to Recon? It's kind of important. I wanted a town that I didn't really have to struggle with and was fairly, probably the most robust of them all. Beijing's it. Also, it's kind of centrally located to what I want to do. It's pretty much, it's not really central, it's more the northernmost point, because Xi'an is pretty much a little southeast of it, go out that way, and then straight screaming down from Xi'an south into Hazy, where my child will be, and then even more further south into GZ. It's kind of important to understand China's got a great train system. They got bullet trains, they got slow trains, but also doing the recon inside those towns to find out, I didn't know they had Walmart. They got Walmarts. Didn't know that they had that many Western stores. They have a lot of them over there. Also, if they don't, find out what the equivalent is. That's where those featured channel guys come into play. Also, when you decide to drop your hotel, if you just pick a hotel in Beijing thinking it's like a Western city, you could be hours away from the airport. That's why reconnaissance is so important. Also, finding out what ring of the city you want to be in. Doing your reconnaissance, you find out that China tiers and rates their provinces and tiers and rates their cities, and in Beijing they have rings basically of where you are to be or where you are to be. Let me back up. Rings that let you know what level that economic or that environment is. It's helpful to do the recon up front. Like, I know that my town that I'm going to, Xi'an, I'm going to be overnight. Beijing, 2 nights max. Hazy, I'm going to be there for a while, and then going to GZ, going to be there for a while. So that's where I started researching them. And hey, pretty good stuff that you find out with Recon. For example, the air quality here where I live is 18 today on the index, which is good, real good. The 7-day forecast, the air quality in Beijing doesn't go below 197 for the next 7 days. That means when you're outside, you're wearing a mask. Okay? Hazy, it gets even better. It's hovering right around 200. Lowest it gets over the next 7 days is 168. GZ, about the same. So when you look up on the air quality index, you see these towns that show little icons of dudes wearing masks. That's where you kind of want to do your recon and know what these towns are all about. You start finding out stuff. You've heard of the infamous Montezuma's Revenge. Well, in China, they tell you, you drink the tap water, you won't have Montezuma's Revenge. You'll have bleeding shits. That's what you'll have. So, oh, golly. Even in Beijing, the robust Olympic city it was, they tell you only drink bottled water. Well, then you start doing a little bit more research and you find out that Beijing and a lot of China has been hit with a lot of bottled water scams. That even when you're buying bottled water and you think it's safe, it's right out of the tap and it gets you sick anyways. That's what Recon's about. You're finding out the air quality. You're finding out the environmental hazards. You're finding out where your hotel is, where you're going to stay. You're finding out what the crime's like. You're finding out also what the culture's like. You're finding out little nuances about, okay, I'm going to have to take a chuzichu or a taxi from the airport to my hotel. Well, during that recon phase, you start going, okay, onto my little planning sheet, I want to research taxis. Then as you start reading, you start finding out that the taxi cabs over there, a lot of them run scams, where if they don't drop the meter, they're going to take you for a ride. And also, by the way, a confrontation between you, taxi cab driver, and law enforcement, native tongue, native taxi cab driver going to win, and you're going to pay. So you start learning these things. You start learning about some of the scams that they run in the town, the great tea house, art house scams, art exhibit scams, tea house scams, stuff that they do in these towns. I'm not trying to make you so scared, but that, oh my God, every dude walking up to me is trying to scam me. But it's good to know these type of things, especially if you haven't traveled much. Some of them are just shades and differences off of European stuff you find in Europe and stuff you find in America scams, but when you have that language barrier, that's another thing to be aware of. So recon, you need to be able to do some good sites. So if you find out, like for example in your adoption city, that, hey, I'm at this hotel, you might want to find out how far away that Walmart is because you decided you wanted to buy a stroller in country, like I'm going to do. Well, I can tell you right now that how far away the supermarket is and the place that sells strollers is from my hotel, if I can go get it, if I can get to it. And that's kind of my approach too. I look at my adoption agency as their 100% focus is getting me through the process. They also, for a nominal fee, will put me up in a hotel where I don't have to worry about things. But I also don't want to spend $11,000 in country after I've spent untold thousands outside of country to do this process. I also want it to be about me and my daughter doing things. Guess I'm weird. Yeah, I'm looking forward to having a screaming child that doesn't even know me on the front of me and walking through the streets of China. It'll be fun. But bottom line, that's what recon is so important. It also, once you find out in relation where the cities are at, how far they are, and what type of travel there is to go on them, and the travel rates. That's where you start. That's also part of recon, the routes of the travel. Like I researched the trains. First off, they give you a ticket. Second off, they assign you a seat. Third off, no one in China obeys the seat ticket. They'll be sitting in your seat. You'll have to ask them to move. It's sort of like a guideline. And you find that out through your research. The other part, you also find out that they have sleepers, hard sleepers, soft sleepers, seats, business class, first class. just on the trains, and this is all done through your Recon. This is the stuff you can be doing after you finish a night of filling out adoption paperwork and start learning and doing. That way, if you are traveling with a party, you can explain things to them before they go. I would recommend, if you are traveling with a party, you make a day of the week the night that we do travel stuff together. Since I'm going alone, I've been pretty much honchoing this process as far as in-country stuff, and my wife and I have been working on the adoption paperwork process. So that's where we're talking about Recon. What's in the city, what's the city about, what the location is about, how to get to and fro all your different locations. It's important. Also, how you're going to navigate. Oh, I'll just throw up Google Maps. Great Firewall of China. That's where things like VPNs come into effect. That's where, like, I've downloaded, and we'll go into the equipment phase, offline maps that are Google-style maps written in English with Pinyin translations that I don't need to be able to be on the internets or interwebs. However, one thing you also find out is China is very robust. It might be slower, but robust with cell phones. Everybody's got a cell phone over there. Mostly a smartphone. I mean, they're using WeChat Pay, which is about the equivalent of like iPay, Google Pay, that type of stuff. So it's really important. How do you find this stuff out? Well, I found that out by researching that there's a store nearby. Well, where's the bank? No need for a bank. They take NFC payment. NFC payment? My smartphone that I got for this ride has NFC on it. I'm good. This was all determined through questions off of a map, basically looking at there and starting with a map and then asking the question, got the internet, won't have the internet, what am I going to use over there? So those are some basic concepts for Recon and stuff that you should think about, or I shouldn't say you, I don't want to be condescending, stuff I thought about and stuff I accounted for my trip to China. So leave comments down below, ask questions, and I'll reply to them. Right now I have a great total of that many followers. So, you be good, and I'll talk at you later.